This is the Agribusiness Report. I'm Tony St. James, joined today by the Honorable G.T. Thompson, who represents the 15th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. He's a member of the Agriculture Committee, also Education and Labor, and under that Ag Committee, he serves on the Subcommittee on Biotechnology, Horticulture, and Research, as well as General Farm Commodities and Risk Management, and Livestock and Foreign Ag. That is a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. It's a full load, but it's great. And Tony, thanks for the opportunity to catch up with you once again. Thanks for being a great voice for agriculture in rural America. Much appreciated.
Well, thank you for the kind words, but really it's the work that you do, and you were back home in the district just recently. Farm tour and an ag summit. What happened there?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it's been very busy on a routine basis. I'm proud to really host what I would call agriculture summits, where we've been using this technology and doing a lot of Zoom meetings. We've had Zoom roundtables on agriculture, joined by farmers and ranchers and also processors, and which has been great. The most recent one we did was actually hosted. It was a bit of a hybrid, actually. It was nice. I kind of laugh and tell people it felt like that was one of the first days it felt like I was on prison work release, outside of the Zoom cell that we're kind of stuck in, and that one. So we were at Mount Aloysius College, which is in Cambria County, and the folks there were just so hospitable. They welcomed me in. Actually, I brought in Rick Ebert, who was the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau president, joined me in studio, and then we did Zoom in. I had two other special guests. Undersecretary Bill Northey joined us, and also Pennsylvania Agriculture Secretary Russell Redding, and then we were just joined by a lot of agriculture, farm families, folks from various aspects of rural America. And rural Pennsylvania specifically, and it was a great discussion. We heard from people, we took questions. I had a great panel there to be able to respond to the questions with, and a lot of it still had to do with, the disruption of the food supply chain and how that impacted our farm families. And then I've done a number of farm tours as well, thanks to our Farm Bureau, the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. On a county basis, does these great legislative sessions. You get great information, great lunch, and chocolate milk. It's just a perfect combination. And you learn by listening. I think that's an important skill. So listening to the farmers, ranchers. Actually, that's where I met a farmer that was familiar with CFAP, but only from the standpoint of the commodities that he sold for the farm to family's food box. But he had no idea that his family was eligible for assistance because of the supply chain disruption for the other part of CFAP. So I think that's why it's important to be out there, to be able to learn from these folks.
You mentioned CFAP. That's a great segue, if you will. We had the CFAP 1 program. Sign up has ended on that. But the administration announcing CFAP 2, and that enrollment is going on right now. What do you see when you look at that program?
Well, it's important for folks to sign up for it because there's not an automatic enrollment. They have to get back out to their farm services agency or give that agent a call and the FSA staff and get signed up. We were successful getting the first round extended to sign up to November 11th, which I was pleased with. And really, thank you to Secretary Perdue and his staff. I mean, that was an overwhelming task of rolling out, the coronavirus food assistance program, because there were so many different parts to it. Part of it obviously with the farm to family food boxes, which over 90 million of those that were delivered, and that was fresh produce, dairy, meat, and then the bigger part of it was the assistance to offset the financial losses that happened as a result of this COVID-19. So I'm really pleased actually that there's still resources available. We don't have to do new legislation for a CFAP 2. In fact, that was announced on one of those calls that I hosted most recently. That was where the big announcement came, or at least a preview of it. I didn't want to get ahead of Secretary Perdue. And so that's important that farmers and ranchers do sign up for it and make use of it. It's a good program, and the bottom line is we can't afford to lose our farms. If we lose our ability to feed ourselves, that is the biggest risk to national security that there is. And so I do believe the CFAP program is really important. We may need to do something going forward. We'll see. I know the bill that was proposed out of the Senate, now they couldn't get enough Democrats, unfortunately. They couldn't get any Democrats to get to 60 to move it. But that sort of the next edition of a relief type bill did include, I think, $20 billion for agriculture. And, and it's important that we continue to look at this because, the food supply chain was pretty significantly disrupted.
Now, some of that funding for CFAP2 is coming from the CCC, which is another very timely topic at this point. What's happening on that front?
Yeah, the Commodity Credit Corporation, CCC, is a very important tool that USDA can use. It basically is how we finance literally dozens, probably multitude of dozens of agriculture type programs. So like crop insurance, other risk management, certainly the many of the sort of emergency programs and authorities that were granted in response to the coronavirus. And so it's time to replenish that, and it needs to be replenished. Unfortunately, we're seeing politics played with it. Sadly, last week on Friday, it was announced, Speaker Pelosi's office, that there was a bipartisan deal was struck. And that would be able to replenish the CCC and also to extend the pandemic EBT cards, for families that unfortunately, the governors that declared they couldn't go to work, they took their jobs away, at least temporarily, put them in financial harm. And, they needed assistance to make sure that their kids that was able to get, access to food, especially when they weren't in schools. Yeah, those children that already are eligible for free and reduced meals in particular. And no more did she announce that and then pull the rug right out from underneath it. So it really appeared that politics came into place. Congressman Mike Conaway, a dear friend of mine, a mentor, a leader, former chairman of the committee, actually offered an amendment for the continuing resolution to replenish both the CCC and extend the pandemic EBT card. And sadly, in the Rules Committee, it was just dismissed out of hand. The Democratic chair of that committee dismissed it, didn't even comment on it, and would not find that amendment in order. So it really appears there's a lot of politics being played right now, and I see that around here, and I understand. Unfortunately, that's sadly a part of the sport. But when you start to put kids, and quite frankly, farm families, in front of politics in front of those two, that's really kind of reaching a new low.
You mentioned kids who were at home, and you started the conversation by talking about Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can tie those two together through rural broadband. And is Pennsylvania much like the rest of the country when it comes to rural areas where high-speed internet is probably not in existence?
It's not there. There are places that do have it, but unfortunately there are many places that do not. And they may have broadband in some places, but the question is it sufficient bandwidth to be able to host, the teleeducation platforms, the telehealth platforms that we're now seeing. And I'm proud of the telehealth and teleeducation. As you mentioned, I'm a senior member not only on the Agriculture Committee, but on the Education and Workforce Committee. And, and teleeducation, I've always believed, shouldn't replace in-classroom education, because there's so much more that we learn, relationships that we build, skills, interpersonal skills by going to school. But boy, we could sure enhance it with teleeducation. And unfortunately, earlier this year, our kids spent 3 to 4 months forced to go online and without connectivity. So it is definitely an issue. It's one of my number one priorities with the Agriculture Committee going forward. I have two goals, two visions, I guess, for the Agriculture Committee. One is to restore a robust rural economy everywhere in rural America. And number two is to begin to repopulate, to grow rural America once again. And I think we have a great opportunity to do that. But without good connectivity, which allows, and we need that, we know that. We need that for businesses to operate. We need that for rural, small mom and pop businesses to be able to compete. So they have access to a worldwide marketplace to sell to. But we need that for precision agriculture too. Agriculture has always been about science and technology. And without the connectivity, we cannot really take full advantage of all the wonderful things that precision agriculture can provide for all farmers and ranchers. So it is certainly a high priority of mine as we prepare for the 117th Congress. If there's one thing that we've accomplished, is the fact that everybody recognizes the importance of it now. And I found a long time ago that unless you admit you have a problem, you're not going to fix it. Well, I think Americans have admitted we have a problem with connectivity. I hope that leads us in Congress, with the leadership of this committee, the Agriculture Committee for Rural America, to fix it.
Always great to visit with you. I appreciate your insight. Appreciate what you do. Come back and see us.
I'll do that, Tony. Thank you so much.
Again, it's the Honorable G.T. Thompson. He represents the 15th Congressional District of Pennsylvania, member of the House Ag Committee, on today's Agribusiness Report.